Well, hello everyone. This is Brother Donna here. Hope you're doing well. I'd like to welcome you to How We Got Our Bible this evening as we study to see how our Bibles came to be. Hello, Stephen. I'd like to welcome you in. God bless you. Y'all welcome in. I hope you have had a great day today. Hope everybody can hear me okay. And we have come again to another Monday night to talk a little bit about how we got our Bibles. And tonight we're going to start the conversation with the early English Bibles, specifically the Cloverdale Bible. And we'll talk about this here in just a moment. But before we get into it, let me just give you an idea of where we're at in the space of history. Hey, Warren, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. So, in the space of history, we are right at the time that Martin Luther composed his 95 Thesis in 1517. John Calvin was born in 1509, and then Tyndale died in 1536. So I wanted to give you those few little tidbits of time information to give you an idea of where we're at. Now, we are moving from the Geneva area, from Germany, moving more into the English speaking word. And I want to introduce you to this fella by the name of Miles Coverdale. Miles Coverdale. Now, Miles Coverdale was an English ecclesiastical reformer, chiefly known for being a Bible translator, but he was also a preacher and a bishop of Exeter. And from 1528 to 1535, Coverdale spent most of his time in continental Europe, mainly in Antwerp. He rendered considerable assistance to William Tyndale in his revisions and partial completions of his English versions of the Bible. Hey, Sylvia, good to see you. Now, if you'll remember now, William Tyndale was working independently, having gone to great personal cost to translate the Bible into English. And the best I can tell, Miles Coverdale had some hand in assisting him in some manner. That now we know that William Tyndale died by hanging, or excuse me, he was burned at the stake. He was strangled and then burned at the stake in 1536. And it's thought that along the same time period, Miles Coverdale continued some of that work that Tyndale had started to do. Now, Coverdale continued to do his work to produce what became the first complete English Bible in print, and that Bible was called the Coverdale Bible. Now, the Wycliffe Bible had been around, but it was not complete in English. The Tyndale Bible was portions, but not complete in all the way in English. But the Coverdale Bible was the first Bible in 1535 that was in English. It may surprise you to know that it was not the King James. 100 years before the King James came the Coverdale Bible. And you'll see this is, and by the way, this Coverdale Bible, you can get an early 16th century copy for around $300,000. I looked on some of the Bible sites, and those things are rather high. But this is a leaf from that Coverdale Bible. Now it's interesting that Coverdale he was not astute in the Greek, Hebrew, or Aramaic, so he had to use Tyndale's portion. In 1534, the Canterbury Convocation, petitioned Henry VIII that the whole Bible might be translated in English. Now, it's interesting. Keep in mind now, William Tyndale died in 1536. In 1535, Coverdale dedicated this complete Bible to the king. And after much scholarly debate, it's now considered probable that the place of writing the Coverdale Bible was Antwerp. Now, Coverdale based his New Testament on Tyndale's translation. The reason he did that, like I said, he did not have enough knowledge of the Greek and the Hebrew on his own. So he used Tyndale's translation of the New Testament, and he also used Tyndale's published Jonah as well as the Pentateuch. And Coverdale used his working intermittent knowledge of Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, but not being a Greek or Hebrew scholar. He worked primarily from German Bibles, Luther's Bible and the Swiss German version. So out of that, he extrapolated into the English his translation of the Coverdale Bible. And so what you had in 1535 was the first English copy of the Bible, and you'll see the imprint here. And this was a fast time within the Bible translation. There's going to be, and we'll see another one next week, there's going to be several translations come along real quick, like in the English. And then there's going to be some more in the German, like the Geneva, for instance, the Great Bible, and other ones that we'll talk about, the Matthew's Bible that we'll talk about next week. But this is the precursor to some of the Bibles that we have today. Now, the Cloverdale, as I said, it was nothing more than Tyndale's work, really. And it's interesting that when we get to the King James, 80% of the King James itself came from the Coverdale. You know, you got people, and they'll sit and they want to argue with you about the King James being the most reliable, the most accurate, the oldest, which is not true. But people's bully pulpit will cause them to want to hold on to this without doing any of the history, any of the research to find out how we truly came to have the Bibles that we have today. And we got to understand, folks, this is a time when these folks couldn't go down to the local corner store. And, that each store would have 10 different translations of the Bible. Up until Tyndale, up until Wycliffe, up until Coverdale, they had to go with what they had given to them. So this is great strides in these men at great expense, having to put these through. And you remember Tyndale, he was martyred. So many people came and were killed for their faith. Hey, Hodges, for the Bible. But the point being, God's were sustained. So, and I know it's easy. I look around, I've got, a number of Bibles right here around me. It's easy for us to take for granted these, but I want you to know there has been a rich history that's gone along with the Bibles that we have. That's why it's so important. That's why I do what I do. We do here how we got our Bible, not so we can just have hopeless information, so that, but that our faith can be built up to know that the Lord has been faithful to his word throughout all these generations. Well, that's the Coverdale Bible. Now, you can go and do a lot more research about it. There's a lot more information that I do not have time to put in. But the Coverdale Bible was the first English Bible completed in 1535. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this time. If I could be of any assistance, please let me know. And I tell you, see you next time. Mr. Brother Donnie, sign off. Bless you. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time on How We Got Our Bible.